high frame rate is quite simply the future of cinema. Traditionally, films were made at 24 frames per second, and moving to a higher frame rate allows them to film at 48 or even 60 frames per second. And the difference for the audience is going to be absolutely incredible. For the audience, higher frame rates is going to mean a couple things. First of all, they're going to be able to see scenes that just simply weren't possible to film at lower frame rates. So anything involving fast motion is going to look absolutely stunning, and previously it wasn't possible to capture that in an effective way at 24 frames per second. The other thing that audiences will notice is much higher temporal resolution, much greater visual quality. It'll feel more immersive, it'll feel more real, and that's what's so exciting for directors and cinematographers, is being able to bring the audience into a new world and really make them feel like they're there. Higher frame rates is going to have an amazing impact on cinema, but perhaps the biggest impact will be on 3D cinema. From an audience perspective, it's going to be absolutely incredible. One of the challenges in filming 3D is that the frame rate creates a lot of strobing and judder, and moving to a higher frame rate virtually eliminates that strobing and judder. And what that means for the audience is a much more relaxed, natural, immersive, compelling experience at the theater. And that's what we've been waiting for a long time. Christie prepared a clip to show the difference between traditional 24 frame per second content and 60 frame per second content, or high frame rate content. And in this particular clip, you see an alien spaceship moving over a desert landscape. The image on the left is filmed at 24 frames per second, whereas the image on the right is at high frame rates at 60 frames per second. You'll notice that the image at the right immediately is much crisper, much clearer, much more compelling. You'll also notice that the motion is much smoother. And if you zoom in and look carefully at the individual frames, you'll notice that the image at the right, the high frame rate image, is much crisper and much cleaner. There's a lot less motion blur because the shutter on the camera is open for less time. At high frame rates, at 60 frames per second, you actually have 2.5 times more detail than you do at 24 frames per second. I think there'll be two changes for cinema in terms of the business. First is, it's going to provide that differentiated, compelling solution to bring audiences to the theater. And secondly, I think it'll open the door to alternative forms of content that were traditionally hard to capture at 24 frames per second. Content like sporting events, dance, live cinema, etc. There's no question that higher frame rates are going to become a new standard for digital cinema, but they're not going to be the only standard. At Christie, we want to make sure we support all of the frame rates that filmmakers want to use so that they can make the right choices for their particular productions. Most of the Christie digital cinema projectors out in the market will support higher frame rates, but you have to be able to feed the projectors with data fast enough. And for that reason, we've created a Christie integrated media block to be able to go right inside the projector to be able to serve those projectors with the information that they need to support higher frame rates. And that's something we'll be making available later this year. From the beginning, Christie realized that digital cinema really was an opportunity to allow the industry to move to higher frame rates. And so we've been working from the beginning with directors and cinematographers, with production and post-production studios, and with exhibitors to not only showcase the potential of higher frame rate cinema, but to arm these people with all of the equipment that they need to really allow the industry to make that transformation a reality. And we're thrilled that the work that we've put in over the last several years is finally going to make it to the big screen.